Democrats won't let us fund hospitals or save small businesses unless they get to dust off the Green New Deal. I'd like to see Senate Democrats tell New York City doctors and nurses that they're filibustering hospital funding and more masks because they want to argue with the airlines over their carbon footprint.
That was the leader of the Senate, Mitch McConnell, just a few moments ago, really calling out the Democrats for what they're doing, which is delaying the coronavirus, the Wuhan virus aid package, because they want to stuff it full of the Democrat goals and agenda items like AOC's Green New Deal. Who better to comment on it than our guest in studio? He braved coming in the studio. We respect that greatly. He's Horace Cooper, Senior Fellow of the National Center for Public Policy Research and Project 21. There was much made in a recent press conference of the president's activation but not implementation of the Defense Production Act. What do Americans need to know about it, and what should the president do or not do with the Defense Production Act?
Two things. The president showed his instincts, and I think his instincts are very solid on this. The Defense Production Act was a statute passed in 1950, and by the way, it does not empower the president to just come in and take over. And the president responded by saying, when asked, that this was a country where we work on a free enterprise model, where we encourage and we incentivize, we don't dictate. The second part of this is, it's no coincidence that the Green New Deal is called the Green New Deal.
Right.
It's the last time that we went through a crisis that we got a new deal. And I want to make sure your listeners understand, it took a long time before the interventions on the part of government were outgrown such that people could begin to prosper. The Supreme Court in 1952, in a very famous case that everyone who goes to law school learns about, learned that the Defense Production Act, in a case called Youngstown Steel, does not allow the President of the United States to tell a steel company, in the middle of a war, I'm going to take over your facility and use it however I see fit. The Supreme Court said, no, Mr. President Truman, in 1952, you may not do this. Merely because the Congress has given this statute doesn't empower you to act to take away the free responsibility and authority of private actors to control their resources. People in the media claiming that the president can do this are not being truthful, or they're ignorant. And people who know better ought to be speaking up and saying the same. The president's instincts are good on this.
Yeah, I think he's had enough slowly. I think we're going to see some very different decisions next week on Monday when the 15 days expires. We're talking to Horace Cooper. Last minute we have with you, Horace. What would you like to see happen the Monday the 15 days expires a week from now? What would you like to see coming out of the White House?
So I would like to hear the administration tell everyone that unless you are in a category of a compromised immune system or of a certain age, everyone else, schools need to open back up, go back to work, movie theaters, and all of the rest. And what we're also seeing with the development from our pharmaceutical companies there are preventatives as well as things that we can take that aren't, quote, vaccines,
yes,
that are going to minimize a lot of this. We could, by Easter, be back in business without a lot of the consequence. And this whole debate about what the Democrats want to add as part of the Green New Deal to take advantage of this crisis could just be moot.
Yes, this is one of the things I addressed on my video yesterday, the whole question of the Z-Pack and the hydroxychloroquine. These are things that have, according to French medical professionals, and now certain
I used to think that was an oxymoron. But in this
international health professionals and certain celebrities seems to work,
yes,
against the Wuhan Chinese coronavirus. Got to have you back, Horace, to talk about the Chinese aspect of all this.
Absolutely.
And
There's some culpability here that this country
not only
needs to address.
not only that, how China is spinning this and how the mainstream media is actually facilitating that spin. In the meantime, follow Horace Cooper and his colleagues on Twitter at Project21News. God bless you. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thanks.